Hi and welcome to another episode. And what we've got here is a fuller keyboard for the Sinclair ZX81. And I'm sure lots of people out there already know what it looks like, and if you don't happen to know, here's a picture of it somewhere, maybe even a video. Now the thing is, this is actually a far better keyboard than what the ZX81 had all the way back in 1982. This actually came out in 1983 and cost £130, all but 5 pence or something like that. You'll have to figure it out what that is in your local monies, but yes, it gives you a far better keyboard. As I say, you can see the ports on the side here, just standard ZX81. The holes fit the power cable, the in and out for connecting up to a tape deck, and the UHF signal out. Now that is why you're here, because I need to change it. I don't really have a TV that can handle that picture anymore. I've tried on a couple of my LCD TVs and they do not work. And I've tried on that gadget that I have that converts UHF to VGA. It too doesn't like to pick up the signal. That could be just the way that the ZX81 is. It's a bit temperamental as it is. But I managed to get enough of a signal to make sure signal that yeah, there is a picture out. It's just not very good, and all the keys work, which is great. Now with this keyboard, just going a bit of a flashback, it's maybe a bit bright for you to see, but you maybe see that there's, can we zoom in? Maybe I do hold it up instead. Whoa. There we go. You can see there's some, well, it all needs cleaning. And at the bottom of the keys there's some randomly stickers that have got red text on them, which was extra functions that you can do by actually pressing the function key to do stuff. Some of them are missing, and I want to get one of those ticky-tap printer things to do it all out. I've already got one, but I want to get one that does red out, and I'm going to take off all these old ones and look at a ZX81 and make sure that they're all correct, and of course clean it all up. Now the great thing about this case was it came in two variants. You could spend some amount of money, I think it was £130, and then a little bit more to get something else. So basically the ZX81 goes up to about here, and that's that. So you plug it in from the side and everything. You might notice this appears that you can make some holes here at the back, and that's the truth, you can. And another little slot here. Well, what you could do, or actually you bought it from factory really, was you would put they would send it you with these holes cut out instead. This one would be full and this one would be full. At least that's the way that I assumed that they did it. And you could put the ZX81 in sideways, and then there'd be an expansion card inside, so that you, and then it would come out of this one instead, so that you could already have something plugged in inside and have something dangling out the back here. So that's something I do want to do in the future as well as, but I need to figure out, well, can I buy that particular board from somewhere? Either old, someone's already designed one, or, goodness, I might have to design one myself, and I've never really done any Gerber files and whatever they're called to send off. Speaking of which, let's go across to the sponsor. Way hey, it's PCBWay. They're a fully featured custom PCB service based in China. It doesn't matter if you're a hobbyist wanting a prototype or a company needing full-scale rollout. PCBWay have you covered. PCBWay have great services like PCB prototypes and PCB assembly. They also have other services to help you get your product ready for market. If you're just a hobbyist learning how to hold a soldering iron, PCBWay have a shared product page where you can put your circuits together. For those who dream about circuits, you can share your ideas here with them as well. All this starts for as little as $5 US. Check out PCBWay today by finding a link in the description down below. While you've been looking at that, I've taken the screws out of here and actually already had a bit of a gander myself. That's a bit of a look. Taken these ribbon cables out, far better than what the original ZX81 had, but be careful when you're doing it all the same. Now I believe that this is one of the earlier versions of the ZX81. I know the later versions actually had a red PCB. I mean, just look at the not straight lines, it's all wibbly wobbly. But yeah, this obviously has, I say obviously, you might not know, it has a Z80, yes, here in the UK I call it a Z80, but yeah, in America, Z80 processor in it, not exactly clocked particularly fast or anything like that, but it's in here, it's all the stuff, and this came here with a whopping 1K of memory. I realised the American version, the, what was it, the T1000, the Timex T1000, is a ZX81 version over there. It came with 2K as far as I remember, but anyway, over here we got 1K, and it really could do with having lots of extra memory because it needs it. But we're going to be playing around with this bit here, which is the UHF part. I need to get into there so I can fit a composite mod. And the composite mod, dear me, it's very dusty inside this thing. Don't worry, I will clean stuff down. But the PCB I've bought already to do is this one. It's a tiny little thing. You can get other versions, but the reason I got this one is because it has dip switches on it, and it has those two little pots to help with the signal. The dip switches is because it depends on the version of the ZX81 you've got, if it has a back porch or not, whatever that means. Well, from what I understand, this version doesn't have one, so I need to make sure it basically works with it. You can get ones that do it only for the back porch, and ones that do it that it doesn't have a back porch. But this one and some other designs have a chance so that you can flip backwards and forwards depending on what you're slapping in. And for the cost difference, I believe you're better off buying one where you can do dip switches, just in case you've thought, oh, I need this one, and it turns out it's not, it's the other one. But anyway, also what I want to do though is take this board out, spin it so it sticks out the back, and so that the expansion bit will be over here, and then eventually get a PCB so it runs over there, and so I can have an expansion board already plugged in inside instead of having stuff dangling out the back. I will show what I've already bought for that in another video, so you'll have to come back for that one. But for now, all I'm really interested in is I'm going to take the board out of here, get this soldered in, mess around with all my fancy inputs and things, and can I get a signal into my computer and onto the monitor that I'm looking at the moment, all with the helps of this. And basically, can it get picked up through the RetroTink with that fancy thing I've got so that it does composite as well. So anyway, let's get on with it. So first things first, got to get this off. I've popped it off using some of these. I find, because they're already bending upwards, keeping them closed and just on things like that always seem to work. Now, according to the instructions, the first thing we've got to do is there's a resistor just there. We've got to desolder that from here, or we've just got to snip it. I'm going to desolder it. Yep, so boop, zoomed in. Yeah, this resistor hiding there is what I need to do. So I get in. It might just be easier to snip it. Can we go for it? Can we? What's that there? Is that a bit of glue, hair or something? Oh, what is that? Oh, this is causing more problem than I thought it would do. Is that it? Can I see any connection? No, no connection anymore. Whoop. Come on, focus, you silly camera. Anyway, just trust me, there is none. As in, I can definitely snip below. I'll leave the solder on there for a moment, just in case I need that for something else. But at least it's not connected anymore. Right, what's the next bit we've got to do? The existing RF module has two wires going into it and takes it ground from the bottom of the board. The two wires are video in, which enters around the middle of the aero stuff I'm reading. Okay, so I've moved the board round and here, but basically we need to, this wire that's sticking into this and the other wire, the only one that's soldered in place, we need to desolder them. But we need to remember which one's which. So the one on the left is the video in and the one on the right is the 5 volts. Well, what we could do is just snip these two and then connect a wire to them. Or what we can do is desolder them from the bottom of the board. I'm going to go for the bottom of the board because I kind of like the idea if someone, for some very strange reason, wants to go back to UHF. They can do relatively easily. So let's get on with trying to do that. On the underside of the board, it's this one and then this one here. So I'm just going to use well, a bit of braid, I think. Should I get my desoldering gun out? Though that's probably far easier, but limited space and it's only a couple of spots. So let's try the braid trick. First things first, some proper stuff, hopefully. So, would he put some flux there? And what you wanted to say, I said this one. Let's try to use some braid. I really do have to get my desoldering gun out. I will do. I've never been particularly fond. Come on. Which one is it? Let's try to get some actual footage. Dear me. There we go. That's that one out. Oh, it's fiddly bit of a wire. But it definitely is out. You can see. Oh, it's not in that hole anymore. Let me watch the other one now. Where are we? All a bit fiddly. And which one is it? That one. That's get some footage, come on. Oh yeah, we've got to try to take the... Let's try and get some braid on here to get some of the solder off first. Let's try again. Where are we? It's all very fiddly, this. And I give you some shot and there we go. I believe even be a bit more. There we go. Job's a good one. It's out too. I'll line it up in a minute, just put mix solder iron away before I burn the house down. Right. So I've got one wire there and this other wire here actually might still not be out properly. Oh, it is. It is, it's just being fiddly. Oh, I really hope I haven't taken the connection with it. There we go. Definitely see it now. Right. Are we? That wire and that wire out of the way now. So now I need to faff around with bits of wire so we can get this hooked up. Maybe get some electrical tape. It's all out of focus, come on. There we go. So we've got the 5 volts in, out and ground. That one there is the 5 volts, well the hole is. And the hole on that side is the in. So what we need to do is get a 5 volt into there. The in signal, the out signal actually comes all the way back out again and goes onto the first bit we desoldered. And at ground, you can see that hole there, basically that long strip and that hole, that's your ground. So let me mess around cutting bits of wire down and making sure that fits. Well, you can see I had some fun. These things, obviously that's the one that's trimmed and everything. I realised I had the wires the wrong way round for positive and ground, so I switched them round. Don't know why I'm so short-sighted on that one, but anyway. So I went in, tried to sort it out, and then it also turned out that the wires to trim them back, all they end up happening is that they just really don't want to trim back so easily. So a lot of pain of desoldering, and then it turns out my desoldering gun needs cleaning and lots of silly things. But basically I would recommend not using those things unless you can get particularly short ones. I've got some single core wire and I've messed around doing it directly. I know it looks a little bit messy, but it's actually not that bad when you zoom all the way in. So now really is the moment of truth. When I know it's all working, I will get some kind of a pad to stick this in place. I'll gingerly stick it underneath and everything. The soldering part, as I said, with the stuff, the little, is it that bit all the way there? I couldn't get the solder to come out of the hole. My soldering iron, my desoldering station needs cleaning out properly, and I just haven't got the time to do that right this minute. So what I've done is actually soldered it as a blob to the side, because obviously the case is grounded anyway. Obviously a solder point would be nicer, but if it gets the job done, it gets the job done. So it's just really a matter of getting this in such a way that it's not going to interfere with the case and all that fun stuff. So now what I'm going to do is plug it in. I'm not even going to put it back in the case. I'm going to plug it in, get it hooked up to something that can convert it to HDMI, and let's see if we've got a picture. Fingers crossed I've got this setting correct for this particular style of ULA. I believe I have. Basically one off. Actually, that looks kind of weird. It's one on and two off. It's one of those optical illusions where it sort of look like they're both pulled down, but they're not actually. One is on and stuff, and the other way around. And maybe I'll have to get a tiny little screwdriver and play around with these things. And quite frankly, I'll have to learn which thing does what. Right. Anyway, composite cable, power supply unit, and let's see how far we get. Well, sadly, after a bit of playing around, it sort of was wanting to do a bit of a picture, but wasn't doing it stable enough. So I made sure my soldering was done. Obviously, I unplugged everything before I did that. And now I get no picture at all, no matter what I do. So, failure. I really don't know what I'm going to do on this one. So I don't really think there's going to be a part 2. So I hope you have better luck with doing this than I do, and if you've got any tips for me, let me know. And apart from that, click down below for the descriptions, for the Discord, for the Patreon, and don't forget to hit the subscribe and like buttons. But as always, happy gaming.